Jacksonville State takes on North Dakota State, up-and-comers new to the FBS. This game is being played in Fargo. North Dakota State's about a 7-point favorite. It's kind of been jumping all over the place. I've seen 6.5. I've seen 7.5. The total is parked pretty firmly at 47 at this point, but I'm not going to lie. I'm very interested in Jacksonville State in this spot. North Dakota State getting a lot of love. First things first, North Dakota State's Nate Tolstad is questionable with an injury. He's their left guard. But we get right to coaching. I think the big things people will mention with North Dakota State, Tim Polasek, he's been a very productive head coach. That's in the FCS level. And playing in Fargo is not easy. So addressing Fargo, first of all, let me ask you, how many points is it worth playing in Fargo? The comments you'll receive if you do any sort of content like this is, how could you like Jacksonville State playing in Fargo? Well, the answer is Fargo is worth a certain amount of points, and Jacksonville State's a talented team. So unless you can tell me how much it's actually worth, you can't just say they're going to win based on the home field advantage. Second, Polasek, we have seen him coach at a higher level. Previously was with Wyoming. He was an OC there. Previously was with Iowa. He was an offensive line coach there. But as a head coach, we've only seen him with North Dakota State, and they went 26-3. That's fantastic. Let me see you against FBS competition. So is it crazy to really want more proof other than one game against Colorado for Tim Polasek to really say this is an elite coach at this level? The other thing is, anytime we've seen transitions in college football recently, it's mostly been to Conference USA. This is not Conference USA. Now, their opponent happens to be one, but in fact, one of the best ones. This is basically a team perennially appearing in conference championships in this conference. So first of all, don't think it's just going to be North Dakota State walks into an undefeated season like some other people do. Now, Charles Kelly on Jacksonville State, phenomenal coach. Previously was in the SEC, 9-5 start in his first year. They do replace Clint Trickett as OC, but Taylor Housewright, another guy coming from the FCS in Montana State, not expected to really see their system change much. DC Brian Williams is back. And both these teams run funky offenses. People will say it's really hard to prepare for North Dakota State. It's also hard to prepare for Jacksonville State's offense. That's another offense that's a disaster to prepare for every single week because of how different it is. So we'll start with Jacksonville State's offense. Caden Creel is a returning signal caller. Interestingly, he began the year as a backup, and he does his best work on the ground. Basically didn't play until week 5, and he still put up 1,000 yards rushing at 5.9 yards per carry. He also was above average in terms of his pressure to sack ratio. He wasn't taking too many sacks, and he could have had a better passing number if his wide receivers didn't drop 9% of his passes. Maybe that's the case again this year. But Caden Creel, I think, almost certainly the better quarterback in this game. And a lot of his offensive infrastructure is probably better too. Offensive line for this team last year was firmly above average. They do lose 3 up transfers, which is a concern. Amari Grayson and Cam Griffin are on West Virginia. But there's more coming back than you'd think. Lance Johnson was pressed into action as a freshman last year because of injury, and he played well. He's going to be one of your tackles. From there, also, he was your 3rd highest recruit last year. He's a good recruit. Adrian Gum is back. Now, he was a bit of a concern. Most of that came in run blocking, but not a terrible guard. Lucas Machowski will play your center most likely. He was pretty good last year and really good in pass pro. Caleb Holmes comes over from Pitt. Very good transfer. Top 300 recruit to play the other guard spot. And then Jeremiah Orr is back from injury to finish out your tackle spot. Started the first 2 games. Very good in them against UCF and Liberty. I think the Jacksonville offensive line is going to be more than fine this year. And then you get to your skill position players. You have a unique weapon in DeAndre Johnson. He's the 6'8" perimeter receiver. One of the craziest stat lines I saw last year. This is a guy that I don't even know how to put this. He barely played until week 8. He had 73 yards total through week 8. You know how many yards he finished with? 724. It's probably the craziest receiving line and the eruption I've seen all season. That was a nuts stat line. And then other options, not really as important. Johnson's going to be the focal point of the pass game, but Darius Cannon, he was a slot receiver from the FCS, Murray State, 86th percentile. Ronald Johnson comes over from Missouri State, where he was fine. Otherwise, The biggest place to probably look for this team is running back. Cam Cook is gone. He's at West Virginia now. He's a massive loss. Your returning rushers are Christian Lando and former Georgia 3-star Andrew Paul. There's not really a sample on them whatsoever. Kind of what you can say is the offense, as long as the O-line is in a good spot, it churns out efficient rushers, really no matter who you put back there. Cam Cook obviously is a huge loss, but expecting this unit to be pretty decent overall. As far as the North Dakota State defense goes, what really matters in this game, at least in terms of the edges, they're losing a lot. So it's kind of the case across the board with this team. They lose Toby Aneen to Colorado. I do think the defense is the stronger part of their team, but even there's holes. So on the edge specifically, Kelton McCaskill's back. Pretty good run defender, 14 pressures. Outside of that, your most experienced edge rusher is Matthew Stenbroten, who has 205 snaps. There's a bit of a projection there. Inside, you have some pretty decent play in Keenan Wilson, Logan Larson. These are smaller guys. Both of them are 285. And both of them better as pass rushers. So there's just a little bit of question marks there. But then you get to linebacker. Their best linebacker, Nathaniel Stallings at Michigan now. They lose another 3-year starter in Logan Croft. There's no one else who has been above 150 snaps for this team. Linebackers completely unknown. Every single corner spot has to be replaced this year. Jaquez Alexander's on Delaware. Jalen Duffy's on UCF. They bring in 2 D2 transfers and EJ Davis from Wayne State and DJ Volts from Saginaw. I know North Dakota State is good at coaching up guys, but these are not the best bets. You can't just have a pair of D2 corners out there. Safety Darius Guyvance is pretty good. Talon Edey is okay. But still, just like defense as a whole, you're replacing a lot more production than normal for a North Dakota State team. Before we move on, if you like this content, please consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on the video. Those two things are immensely helpful for a small channel like this. You can also leave a comment. You can hype the video. YouTube seems to really like those as well. And as usual, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And thank you for watching. And then you go to the offense. North Dakota State's offense is replacing like everything. Everything. You lose an NFL quarterback in Cole Payton in the 5th round. Now you're turning to a 2-star in Nathan Hayes, who's basically thrown a few passes, completed 37 of them. I guess he profiles as a good rusher, which fits this offense, but we just have no idea. He's a 2-star who's barely played. The skill position players, they lost everybody. You lose another player that got drafted in Bryce Lance, a 4th-round pick. But even beyond that, you know, Lance had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, but Rajon Nelson was a 5-year slot player. Chris Harris started the last 2 years. Their number one returner has 283 snaps. That's Jackson Williams. We have no idea. Mekhi Collins has played a little bit, but there's nothing here. They use tight ends. Again, this offense is funky, so you're going to see 22 personnel sometimes, 12 personnel, 13 personnel. They use a bunch of stuff, fullbacks, multiple tight ends. They lose 3 of their top 4 tight ends. Their only guy that's back, Reese Kessel, was a pretty good receiver. He was at 2.7 yards per out, but they've got nothing beyond him. You lose a 2,000-yard rusher in Barika Kapenu. Now you're going to turn to some combination of like a DJ Scott from Kennesaw State, Cortez LeGrant, Miles Mitchell. As you can see, like the whole offense is gone, like almost every single position. Your offensive line is more intact than anything else, but you lose 2 of your top 3 starters. Trent Fraley and Bo Johnson are both gone. So now Josh Mangan is a senior. He was okay. He played 594 snaps last year. Ryan Babbitt's is probably going to play as well. He was okay. Nate Talstad is injured. He might be out of this game. We'll have to see on that. And then Gage Schmidt is your other player. He has 94 snaps. So there's quite a bit of questions with this offensive line too. Jacksonville State's defense on the other side, this unit definitely has some concerns. They lose some good players to transfer. Emmanuel Oyabajo's in Florida now on the defensive line. You do get back Garen Stansberry, who's a good run defender off the edge. They bring in some decent transfers. Jacob Cruz from Georgia Tech. On the inside, like Talon Carter, it's kind of the same thing. Talon Carter's on Vanderbilt now. Daryl Prater's on Illinois. But the guys you bring in are just better than what North Dakota State has. Like Curtis Perry is a 4-star. He's still on the team, played well. In run defense, Juwan Campbell's still here. He was elite in 2024 before he got hurt last year. It's just a more talented defensive line. Your top 2 linebackers are both back, Max Sanders and Walker Osteen. Both these players were completely fine. Sanders had 85 tackles. Osteen had 84. In coverage, Traquan Fegans is back. He's the best corner on the team. He's a former USC 4-star. You have Jaheim Jenkins. He was fine. You have Vernon Woodard and Caden Cook to fill in the gaps. 2 Power 4 transfers coming down. You basically have a pair of Clemson safeties. Caleb Nix was already on the team last year, and Rob Billings is an incoming 4-star transfer. I mean, the talent level is just so much better with Jacksonville State. And I'll emphasize, this is not Akron. This is a team that's perennially competing in Conference USA for championships. You get to kicking. Garrison Rip is back, kind of sprayed, but this is a guy that was 4 or 5 from 50 plus, so he has some range. North Dakota State also lost their kicker. Eli Ozick is on Iowa now. So, I mean, just the talent level with this North Dakota State team, it's just tough when you're replacing almost every single one. In the past, where North Dakota State's been dominating the FCS, first of all, it's the FCS. Second of all, they've had the opportunity to develop players year over year. This is the worst they've ever been hit by the portal. So I'm on Jacksonville State. We were lucky enough to get this plus a 10 very early in the offseason. I'm okay with the 7. I don't love it. Our number is minus 6.4 for North Dakota State. Right now, the current number, what I really like is the under. We make this at 41.9. So the final score in our projections is 17.8 Jacksonville State, 24.1 for North Dakota State. How you get there? First of all, both these teams are extremely run heavy. There is a difference in pace. Jacksonville State is more up-tempo, but this is not the Rich Rod offense. Last year, they were 25.8 seconds per play. You know, Rich Rod, when he was here, was at like 21 seconds per play. So the average is around 26.5 seconds nationally. So they're not too far ahead of average. And then last year, North Dakota State's pace was below 30 seconds. They were taking almost 30.5 seconds per play, which would be basically a bottom 3 mark in college football. FBS, it's like Air Force, Army, that kind of range. So I'm not expecting pace to be very good. Pass rate's certainly going to be low. How much offensive efficiency are we going to get out of these teams? I think North Dakota State's defense is okay. Jacksonville State probably going to meet some resistance. And then on the other side, I much prefer Jacksonville State's defense to what North Dakota State has to do, replacing all that talent. So under is my favorite play at current numbers. We have a 48.5 from earlier this summer. Jacksonville State, still like it, but just not quite as much as before.